Thanks for spending some time with us, Faisal. Appreciate that.
Thanks for having me.
So, in this new world that you shared in some of your online posts, business mentorship, big part of what you do. Not only that, the Real Talk YouTube show with Faisal Karmali, Real Talk with Faisal Karmali. I got the name right, right?
That's right. That's right. Yeah.
So that stuff is incredibly important. And some of the conversation we've had tonight is with restaurants and golf and some other businesses that are really working hard to change. But the way we do business fundamentally is different. And I give the example of a friend of mine who's a property manager, and he was a paper guy. Got to be paper all the time. Paper and filing cabinets, right? And there, of course, are some, there are some rules he's got to follow there. But the reality is that if this guy can work from home, anybody can work from home.
There you go.
And so that's changed. That would never, if you had asked me 3 months from now if my friend would be able to work from home, I'd say, no way, no way. And yet he's working from home. So things are different, aren't they?
Absolutely different. I think, just the working from home is from an employee-employer perspective, but how we're going to be doing business going forward, how comfortable we are commingling with other people, all those things are going to be different now. There is a new normal coming, and we're just trying to figure that out. We're working for survival right now. We have some concerns about getting back into a full integrated society. That's going to take some time, but the new normal will be completely different than what we've been to. So whatever anybody saw in the past, I think that's gone. We're going to see big changes happen.
Now, in business conversation, I know you're not like a commercial real estate expert, but that's one world I would be panicked in right now because people are going to downsize space. Holy.
Potentially. We're seeing there's a need for bricks and mortar, right? When we're looking at the groceries chains and we're looking at those types of businesses, there's a lot of business. Restaurants cannot only do takeout.
Yeah, we've learned that.
Cannot only do delivery. Even if they had a smaller kitchen and a smaller space, instead of 100-seat capacity, go to 10 seats, there's going to be less businesses that way. So there are people that still want to go out and do things. So I think the commercial real estate side will have to not only have space, but it has to be innovative space. And this is what I bring up when I talk to businesses that are in malls. The day of the old mall is gone. There's no draw to go to a mall when we have e-commerce. So we need to get people to get off their seats, get into their cars, get into the mall. We'll have to do the same thing with the shopping plazas. We'll have to offer something different that you can't get online or enjoy online that you want to get out of your home for. And that's going to be the innovation that the commercial developers have to do, business owners have to do, and the politicians have to agree with.
Starting to do some of that too. I mean, the social aspect of going to a mall is almost more than anything, right? Like the hey, let's go to the mall and go for a walk. We used to think the 65-year-old seniors were the walk-a-mallers, we used to call them. That's really kind of something that we've all dug into now. That social aspect is a great part of it. So how do you sell, in business, how do we sell that social aspect in today's world and somehow make it different? I mean, what do you see and where do we go?
I think what we've missed out for many, many years in many businesses is connection. Connection with the client, the customer, the buyer of your product or service. And what we've assumed is if we build it, they will come. And now we're saying we don't have to build it, but they still have to come. So how do we make them come to our product, our services, and so forth? As business owners, we have to show connection. There has to be some reason why people want to deal with you, me, or any other business owner out there. And they need to understand that story. I think big businesses, those we call them blue chippers out there, they're going to have a lot of change happening within their organization. But small, medium enterprises have to look at things differently and connect with the average buyer. I think you're getting a lot more focus away from globalization, more to buy local. If that continues, you're going to start seeing more and more individuals look at that as an option, no different than they looked at the green option for being more environmentally friendly or social responsibility. We've had these types of change in behavior in waves in history. And I remember in the makeup and beauty industry, if they were animal tested, there was a big issue about that. That changed, and now if anybody says they do animal testing today, good luck of trying to sell a single product. It's other companies have changed that. So we're going to have the same thing. Are you buying local? Are you supporting local? and you might see a shift in that manner as well.
Well, and also the question becomes, what is local? That doesn't exclude e-commerce when local becomes Canadian, does it?
No, it doesn't. I think when we start looking at the word local, we think within our own national borders, we think within our own provincial borders, and within our own city borders or towns. And we're going to get more patriotic on this. I think this is a change away from globalization, going into populism. And populism means I want access to things at my convenience, at my time, and it has to be somewhere nearby me. And that's the democratization of everything. From every business industry is going through that, and that's something that every entrepreneur has to understand. It's changing. It's not going to be the way it used to be.
Supply chain's been a big thing, though, Faisal. Is that the supply chain, the system was so well oiled and everything, and man, boy, did it fall apart, because now all of a sudden there's pieces of the puzzle that can't serve. Food has been, boy, oh boy, bulletproof. They've done such a good job with everything that's happened. But when it comes to sort of the system, people often say, I always call us, if people haven't figured out that this is the worker bee, this is the worker ant mentality. If you can't see it now, you're never going to see it, because all of the worker ants now have stopped working, and the system fell apart. Now, we've done really well. I'm not being totally apocalyptic in that, but the supply chain was perfect, right? If you needed, a new bike, they had the right number of bikes in the store. If you needed a new tire, it was the right number of tires in the store. Now it's not as easy, just currently, temporarily, to get all that stuff. Do you think the supply chain changes? I mean, I realize that manufacturers in Canada is going to change things. Supply chain is a great example in PPE right now. Toilet paper was a great example of that. Hair dye and beard clippers is a great example of that. Those companies had the formula down pat. Now what do you do?
Yeah, and that's where we're going to start seeing some changes happening is supply chain. And I think with all the medical masks and all the issues that we're having in Canada about this and how we had to source it from China again, well, what are the essential services that we need in Canada? And you're starting to see them come out when you have a shortage on the shelves in grocery stores and pharmacies. And so if it's talking about hair dye, clippers, toilet paper, PPE, and so forth, food and so forth, you have to make sure you have your own suppliers and your own supply chain in-house. We've been so accustomed, especially in this country, to be reliant on other countries to be part of that supply chain. One of the blessings we might get from this is that maybe we can do it ourselves. Remember, Canada is the only country of the G7 nations that doesn't have its own car company. What if we couldn't build cars, send them to USA to bring them back to buy them again? What if we had to build our own? Like we're learning how to do things for ourselves without relying. This might be a gift to us, and to actually invest in innovation, invest in science and technology, and invest in make Canada the right choice versus let's just make it a global so we can keep it as cheap as possible.
Well, there's so many things that we get. I mean, we have fruit and vegetables that are nowhere near, anywhere near Canada's climate, readily available to us. We walk in the grocery store and can you believe they're out of pineapples? Like it takes 2 years to grow a pineapple and they're all perfectly ripe when they're on the store shelf. Like you have to understand the timing that happens in that.
But Zach, let me just jump in there. If you look at what the cannabis world has done, the cannabis world has been able in this country, which normally in a greenhouse or outdoor, has been able to grow cannabis flower. And now they're looking at different technologies, different types of lights and so forth to have that growing. Why can't they do the same thing with other types of fruits and vegetables out there? It's happening already in other parts of the world. So we just need to adopt that type of technology and have it for ourselves. I'm not saying pineapples on its own, but there are other types of products, especially in the agricultural side, that technology is available to work with our agricultural companies and farmers that we can use it and grow it ourselves. We don't always have to rely on other countries.
Well, I have 9 pineapple plants in my living room, so we're going to be fine for pineapple. 2 years from now, we're going to be fine for pineapples. I need to introduce you to my friend Sean and his Harvest Hub project because he's doing in deep root vertical growing indoors anywhere. And so that's the kind of innovation that's going to fix this. Talking about globalization here before we wrap up, Faisal, is that, do you see globalization? Here's how I see what happened. The race to globalization, and I mean everybody, even, Joe Blow Etsy store owner or Shopify store owner that just wanted to sell globally, raced to get product for cheaper, raced to sell it globally. And we didn't create the same agreements around safety and quality. I mean, sure, some of the quality things have changed over time, but we didn't take the time to care for the human rights of the people. We didn't take the time to care for the quality of the health and safety of the stuff that was coming in. I mean, sure, we made sure there was no spiders in our bananas, but beyond that, did we race too greedily or quickly in globalization, forgetting about the important things that in Canada, we would have put massive stipulations on if we were doing it at home?
If you look at what's happened through COVID, you'll find that there's been a big debate, argument, sometimes a fight between health and the lives of Canadians and the economy. And sometimes they butt heads against each other. And people are saying, why do we have to take this risk and ruin our economy for the other? It's the same conversation we've had in every decade in the past. So what if there's a little bit of lead in the paint from a different country? Ship it in, it's cheaper. But that's someone's life at risk there. Yeah. And so we've had this debate before, but we've had on one-off occasions. Now it's everybody having this conversation. And that's why you're seeing people kind of say, maybe we should open up the economy early. And so what if only 1% of the people die? Well, that's 1% of the people that are dying that are infected. And that's what we're trying to change. That's a different moral viewpoint that we have in this country. So we've always had this fight between health and the economy, and greed kicks in sometimes. And that's where we've been in the past. It's just been magnified because of this issue.
If you're a business owner, don't give up. That's kind of what I'm hearing. Is that what,
Amen.
That where we're
Keep
at?
it going. Innovate, build up your processes, and be ready for the new normal, and you'll make it.
Well, this whole world and every business functions on one thing in common all the time, and that's by design. And we often forget that. And so if ever there's a problem, the first place to always go is to look at the design.
There you go.
Always. Faisal Karmali, author, business analyst, business mentor, does course radio shows. So thank you for that. More Than Money, plus the Real Talk with Faisal Karmali on YouTube. And I'm sure there's sleep in there somewhere. Thank you, sir.
Thank you for having me.